We have
This
it available.
conference will now be recorded.
Hi, so we'll begin now. And welcome to quarter 2 of the NWBA Town Hall. We are going to present on what happened in the last quarter and moving forward, just to give everybody an idea of where we are. Tina, do you want to push?
Well, let me just jump in. I think we got on the introductory side a couple of notes. I think when people are joining, just please remain on mute so we can have good audio and reduce background noise. And then if you have any questions, as a small group, you can probably ask them at the end. We'll have time for that. But then also, if you want to ask them live, you can just pop them into the chat and we'll be addressing those as we go throughout the presentation. And then if you can't stay on for the entire presentation, it is recorded. It will be up on the website. So just look out for once that's available in the next 24 or 48 hours. So after that, I'll introduce our new president, newly elected president that assumed the role in May, Darlene Hunter.
Hi, and then I guess if we're going to go around the horn, we have Ryan Martin, who's the vice chair, Mike Godsey, who's the treasurer, Doug Jones, who's our secretary, and then we have commissioners and other people holding, and Brandon and Tina. Everybody knows Brandon and Tina. So for this town hall, we're going to talk about athlete representative selection. So we really, Eve is going to talk more about this, but we really need to get people nominating or nominating themselves for athlete reps, and Eve will go more into that. The Pva Camps coming up, membership. We're about to start our new season. So that we'll do 2021 and 22 in review, and 22 and 23 moving forward. Financials, high performance team. We have a lot going on with our high performance teams right now. Leadership changes, and then at the end we'll answer any questions that anybody might have. And Eve, I'm going to hand it over to you now.
I'm off mute now. Can you guys hear me? I'm going to take your silence as a yes. Okay, all right. So we are looking for 4 athlete representatives, and this is actually a position I previously held, so I can say it's a really great way for our athletes to get their voices heard. This is also a really good stepping stone for any athletes that either want to kind of bridge into a more leadership role within the NWBA, and as you'll hear in a second, for our elite athletes in the high performance, for those to also have a leadership voice within the USOPC. Okay, so positions announced on June 7th, and all eligible athletes for the high performance positions were directly emailed, and also because there's one to our greater athlete population, those were also announced on social media. So we really want to encourage especially our 10-year plus athletes, and what that means is athletes that have been on Team USA and competed in competition in the last 10 plus years. So this is voted on by, these positions are all voted on by athletes that have competed in the last 10 years, but anyone who has competed in the last 100 years, not that we've had our sport for that long, but in perpetuity, you may submit to be an athlete rep. And I think I talked a little bit about how this is a really great way to be an athlete voice. So there are 4 open positions. So the first one is the NWBA AAC member, and that's the one that I held. And that's open to anyone who is an athlete who has competed in the last 24 months as an NWBA member. So if you are in any division, this is a way for you to get your voice heard. And I would say, like, this is the most direct line you can have to the NWBA and all of the other athletes. So I think that this is a really good opportunity for anyone who's looking to step into a leadership role to jump on board. And then the second position is also a board position. So this is an athlete who would also hold a board position. And this was the one that was held by Steph. So, and then the last two are USOPC, and this was Steve and Dar's position. And since they both moved on, and Dar obviously into our president role, congratulations, Dar. Those need to be filled by 10-year plus athletes. I'm sorry, the USOPC is that 10-year? Brandon, can you step in and tell me, is the USOPC number 3 and 4 just 10-year athletes?
I'll let Tina jump in, but yeah.
Yeah, they're 10-year athletes.
Okay, so 10-year athletes. So basically, like, if any athlete can get number 1, and if you've been on Team USA, 2, 3, and 4 are open to you, I think is the short way of saying that. I think that's all I have to say, but I'll be around at the end along with, of course, Tina and Brandon to answer questions about this. Okay, and here's our timeline. This is also available on all the communications, but the most important thing is that we are coming up in about a little bit less than around a month on having to have self-nominations. So I know I'll be pushing my athletes to consider this, and I hope that if you know any Team USA athletes or any of our other divisions that would be a good fit for this position, that you'll be encouraging them to apply. That's all I got.
Thanks, Eve. Junior, can you come back? Thanks. Junior is going to present on PVA camps now.
Thank you, Madam President. My name is Junior Rodriguez. For those of you that don't know me, I am currently the Women's Division Commissioner, and I am also on the Military Division Executive Committee. So this year we're doing something that we've done in the past. We are doing, the NBA has partnered with the PVA to co-host a few camps utilizing Department of Affairs Adaptive Sports Grants. And we'll be doing a PVA camp on August 4th through the 7th at Lakeshore Foundation. Registration is actually live now. The link is on the registration link that says live now. NBA will be emailing info to the camp to all NWBA members with an affiliation to a branch of the military. This PVA camp is meant for new athletes that have not played, that are not currently playing NWBA wheelchair basketball. So these are people that have played in the Marine Corps trials, Navy trials, Coast Guard trials, Air Force trials, Warrior Games, or Invictus. That's who we're reaching out to grow the military division that is going to be live and executed this year. Melanie Briones and myself will be the camp clinicians. So we are excited to have her on board. Melanie was an assistant coach for our under 25 U.S. Women's World Champions in 2019, and she is currently the head coach for the New Mexico 66ers. So the board and myself are very excited to have her leading this camp. Travel support will be available to veterans through the PVA. They will be staying at the Lakeshore Foundation. There is the PVA and NWBA is planning a second camp for the fall 2022. More info is to come. Any questions?
I'll jump in and say thanks, June, on that, and slid this in. So for those of you that weren't present at our adult national championships, I just want to say And congrats and thank you to Junior. He was recognized during that event as the 2022 Bill and Julie Duncan Good Guy Award win. It's an award that recognizes volunteers in our organization. So just want to say thanks to Junior on providing his time and his efforts to the organization.
Thank you very much, Brandon. Well, if there's no other questions, that's my part.
All right. Well,
yeah, I was gonna say Brandon's going next, right?
Yeah, I'll jump in. So before we move forward, it's good to always recap on our season. So next slide, Gina. First, want to celebrate the success of all the teams this year, starting off first with the intercollegiate division that kicked off our Toyota National Championship Series. Congrats to the UTA Moving Men for their 67-56 victory over Alabama, and congratulations to the Alabama Women for their 50-48 victory over Illinois on a buzzer beater. Just want to say thanks, congrats to all the individual award recipients for the intercollegiate division annual awards. You can see a recap of all those on our website. Next slide. Next up was all of our adult divisions that crowned their national championships in Wichita. In D1, we had the New York Rolling Knicks that defeated the number 4 seeded Dallas Wheelchair Mavericks 59-53. Then we had in Division 2, we had the number 4 seed Charlotte Rolling Hornets upsetting number 2 Cincinnati Royals 69-67. And then last but not least, it was our D3 national champs, Memorial Rehab Sharks, defeating the Charlotte Rolling Hornets 51-48. I know Mike's on here, so a couple of those were celebrating but stinging for him. So next slide is our junior division, and want to celebrate our varsity national champions, number 2 seed Charlotte Rolling Hornets, defeating Courage Kenny 67-42, and then our prep national champions, Kansas City Kings out of Midwest Adaptive Sports, defeating Charlotte Rolling Hornets 31-26. And then congrats to all the junior athletes that were recognized for their academics and other accomplishments during the year during the junior division annual banquet. And then next slide, last but not least, the Lady Bucks, competing in the event for the first time since 2019, captured the national championship, defeating the LWSRA Lady Hawks 70-53 at the Women's Nationals in April. So congrats to all the national champs. And here's a quick recap of what our membership looked like this past year in comparison to the previous 2 years. As we shared throughout the year, the board, staff, all of us in leadership are excited that, we're starting to see the turn of pre-COVID numbers and pre-COVID season coming back to fold. So I think we're all excited about getting more teams registered, meaning it's more competition, more opportunity for athletes in our sport, and it's a good progress that we're making, but we're hopefully going to make a lot more for the 22-23 season. So next slide. As we wanted to share here, we've shared this multiple times, as most of membership knows. This was a multi-year dues structure that was approved and shared by the board in June 2018. The board of directors has, due to COVID, made some concessions and approved some changes to the pre-approved rates, both last season and this season. And then, as shared at the National Assembly this past March, the board of directors will be freezing dues for the 22-23 season. And those are listed at the bottom. So you can just sharing what they would have been above, and the accommodation that the board understands from members, and hope that we can bridge the gap moving forward after this next season. Speaking of this next season, more details on it. We're in the process of building out registration, and typical timing for team registration is middle of July. We're going to launch it on July 19th, giving teams the opportunity to register before any individuals were to register. As we know, a team needs to register first so we can activate team selection, make team web pages enabled, and that entire process. And then individual registration will be launching on Monday, August 1st. We like to incentivize everyone to register early for administrative purposes, but also just to generate our numbers early and tackle that kind of, I'll say busy work, but it's mostly my work, but busy work for me, and get you on courts earlier in the season. And then we'll ensure that any updates that we're making to the other registrations are available in July. So we'll be tweaking those, and we'll have those available. And like I said, I encourage you all to mark those on a calendar. We'll share more out about these dates in a more formal manner, but we definitely want you all to understand and mark these on your dates as you're planning out or preliminary planning your 22-23 season. Next slide. So the next one, a topic that I have the pleasure to speak on, is our athlete gender eligibility policy. For those that are maybe followed the news or seen some topics of discussion from the IPC, International Paralympic Committee, or the NCAA in regards to transgender athletes, or a variety of other things. This is something that the board and staff has been looking at for a couple of years now. We were very fortunate to be selected to be part of a project by the USOPC that was funded and collaborated with a group called the Inclusive Playbook that are really experts in this space. And we were able to utilize them as a resource to help us develop a policy for our organization. The primary guiding principle for our policy was to develop one with an inclusive mindset, very much so how we operate as an organization, but we wanted to have the understanding that gender identity and gender expression, gender transition phase, all of that is an environment that we want to allow our athletes to access to wheelchair basketball, but have a healthy and respectable environment to do so. So we have, and we'll get it to the policy on the next slide. It is a policy we proposed to the board of directors, and they recently adopted, and we're going to be implementing it for the 22-23 season. However, this policy is not applicable to individuals that wish to participate or consider selection on any NWBA high performance program or team. For those teams, we will follow the policies in place and the criteria by the International Paralympic Committee, USOPC, and International Wheelchair Basketball Federation. So, next slide, Tina. So that starting in 2022, through the individual registration process, a member will be able to provide their gender identity in a more thorough and comfortable offering. You might see some new questions in there. I will say previously there was male, female, or undefined, and we understood that that was a lack of offering for an individual to feel comfortable and to identify how they would like, but then also from the standpoint of our data collection and proper implementation of an individual that wants to provide their gender identity. Additionally, athletes will be asked to identify throughout those questions the gender identity for their preference for NWBA competition. And any athlete can update their gender identity at any time. However, a formal process is put in place that we're instituting a new registration form to make us aware of any changes to that. And those changes do have to be done, can be done at any time, but they do have to be done 10 days prior to any sanctioned event, knowing that gender identity does impact some of our classification rules, and understanding that classification will be utilized during a sanctioned event, and thus we want to make sure it's applied proper notice to any event sanction holder for us. So we'll have a more formal communication on that, but just wanted to cover off on that adoption of policy for our organization. And I'm pretty excited that we're one of the few NGBs that really has an inclusive policy, but actually has a policy. I will say there's others that are still working forward towards this within their organization. So, next slide. Another thing we want to do is really relaunch our NWBA webinar series presented by ABC Medical for this season. I know we've had a variety of different topics, all of which you can go on and watch the previous recordings to the link at the bottom of this page. However, we know that some of those past topics we want to update with relevant information for this coming season. And also maybe we want to present them in a different format and setting that we've heard feedback, or we can focus on areas of those previous webinar series segments. And with some of those, as you can see here, are some of the upcoming offerings, two of which that we are going to require participation by non-athlete roles within the organization. And we'll communicate more about that on the required participation and how that could be fulfilled. But we also would like to say that we're continuing to having a number of different offerings. As you can see here, we have officiating wheelchair basketball. We've done table officiating. We haven't done anything on floor officiating. Also, I can say the board and myself and others within staff field questions regularly on the high performance program from the cycle it goes through on a quad or a 4-year cycle. And we thought it'd be beneficial to have a presentation and what that is all about, rather than waiting until maybe individuals in the program or in the pool of athletes, because we feel it's really valuable to potentially identify and educate people about the high performance program early. So those are just a few of the topics we have on the docket for the summer and fall. We're always interested to hear more. So if you have any suggestions, feel free to email us. We have some other ones that we're working on, or we could potentially fold yours into. So appreciate any input on that. And then next slide. Thank Tina. First up is our 2023 Toyota National Championship Series. As you can see, the first one listed there, the dates are listed for the intercollegiate division. The intercollegiate division has split their event based on feedback from the division. Ability to host both a combined women's and men's division. And I want to say thank you to Alabama and Whitewater for stepping up to host that event for the 23 season. And then if you note on there, the adult and junior divisions, we have formulated a working group from a variety of division and BO board of director leadership. And really the intent of this working group were taking a look and evaluating our national tournament structure, format, and schedule. It's something that I feel like we should be doing, and I think the board and staff feel like we should be doing, in the sense that just understanding, are we operating that event to its full capacity? Are we operating it, removing challenges for host? Is it a financial commitment what it needs to be for the event? Our meetings and annual assembly a challenge? The understanding, are we delivering a nationals experience for that event? And so we are, just evaluating what that event looks like, and more to come on that. And as we work with that group and feed recommendations to the board of directors on addressing that. And then the women's division is working and has a few potential hosts that are looking to host that as well. I will say, when we are looking at those dates that for those events, we are trying to be mindful of all the variety of different conflicts that do exist, avoiding other major events or holidays when and where possible. Though there is a challenge with the schedule, as we all know, is there's a window of time where nationals typically takes place, and there's only so many weekends. So I will say that everyone working on it, we're doing our darndest to make sure we can have the most optimal schedule, knowing compromises in some places will be made. But I think the last but not least, the board and staff definitely want to work towards the effort of practicing, of confirming nationals prior to the season, and ideally multiple years in advance. But these are things that we're just stating now, and I know that we still need to get caught back up for the 2023 cycle, but I know that board leadership and staff are committed to doing that. So, having said all that, I'm going to pass it off to our fearless treasurer, Mike Gotze, to update us on financials.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Can you hear me okay? Yep. All right. So next slide. The first slide talks about the historical trend that we're in, going from the right to the left, 2017 to 21. What people most look at is the net income. A couple years there with big losses, very positive 2019. COVID hits in 2020, and we were basically break even in 2021. Understanding a lot of the loss, all of the loss in 2020 was related to a lot of membership revenue and corporate revenue that where it has rebounded in 2022 that we'll see in a second. That was lost opportunity and lost money that we're not able to go back and get. We're not able to, a lot of the expenses remained in a predominantly fixed cost, very lean staff that we have, and the impact was there. Another thing to keep in mind is that we had 45,000 in COVID-related PPP loans in 2021, so that helped us by $45,000. Otherwise, we would have lost about $40,000, $39,000 in 2021, and there was also $39,000 in PPP money in 2020. So the $84,000 loss would have been $40,000 greater had we not had those PPP loans. And they're non-repeating, so we don't have the benefit of those in 2022. We're ready for the next slide. Things to keep in mind with the, even though the numbers aren't as good as we are, we've adopted all kinds of different policies to make ourselves as efficient as possible, to make ourselves accountable and transparent as possible, because those are commitments that we've made for our membership. The audit was completed. The 990, which is the IRS form for nonprofits, has been filed. Registrations in 40 plus states have been completed on time. We've already done more grant writing in 2022 than we had done in the previous 4 years, most of which was done by Darlene. Thank you very much. While that's a necessary component of any fiscally responsible nonprofit, it's a long lead time item, so it's not an immediate fix. We've added one member to our champion circle in 2022. We'll talk about that more in just a second. Created a task force for grant writing and fundraising, and continued scrutiny of expenditures. It's actually been escalated. I'll explain why in just a second. A lot of awesome pictures of cute kids playing wheelchair basketball, which I love. And finally, 2022, first quarter. First quarter is our strongest quarter just about any year because we have membership revenue there. That's also when most of our revenue comes in from corporate sponsors. And generally speaking, we don't have a lot of high performance activity in the first quarter. This year is going to definitely be a year of struggles, predominantly on the cash flow perspective, and that goes back to 2020, the loss. Actually, I guess it ended up being more 2020's lost membership revenue and corporate sponsorships because COVID hit, expenses remained, and we had money at the time funded from the USOPC for high performance, so cash wasn't really an issue at the time. 2021, there was a lot of high performance spending, getting our teams prepared for the great results they had in Tokyo. And now everything's coming to roost because we actually have essentially 2 years worth of high performance activity that's occurring in 2022 with a budget for 1 year from the USOPC. Our current working capital line is at capacity of $150,000. And so I didn't want you to get too excited about a net income of $34,000 in the first quarter. Trust me, it gets worse. But we're working on it. We're diligent, and we're looking for combined common sense solutions. And if you can think of anybody that's either rich or good at grant writing and they want to be involved with a great organization, we'd love to talk to them. If you ever have any questions, my contact information is on the website. I'm happy to have an individual conversation if you'd like. And I believe that ends the finances. And next up is Eric Barber from the High Performance. He's a committee member, and he's going to talk about our high performance teams. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. As Mike said, I'm E. Barber, member of the High Performance Committee. Our committee is comprised of Dr. Andrea Whitson-Smith, Gail Gang, Jim Glatch, and our newest member, four-time Paralympian Josh Turek. Our charge as a committee is to collaborate with national team coaches, staff, players, to provide an environment where high performance is not only an expectation, but it is imminent. And so, as we all know, doing so takes lots of resources. And part of my mission tonight really is to provide information on how we all can take an active role in that process. As we move forward, the High Performance Committee, next slide, please, Tina. The High Performance Committee is going to roll out this opportunity for our U23 team that's headed to Thailand this fall, actually in September. This fundraiser is a peer-to-peer endeavor. In essence, this means that the expectation is that we all give, and then we all share with others the opportunity to give also. This peer-to-peer fundraiser, again, is specifically designed for our U23 team. But when this succeeds, we will launch something similar for the teams that are going to the World Championships later this year also. So again, my request is that please give, of course, and then share the information with your networks so that, again, your networks can then give and share, and then it becomes, again, kind of a peer-to-peer networking of sharing and providing some funds for our teams. Again, no matter how big or how small, every little bit helps. And then before I go, I do want to say congratulations to all the team members on the behalf of the the high performance committee of the members making the national teams for their prospective teams, men and women, and wish them the best as they compete in the upcoming tournaments in Sao Paulo, Thailand, and in Dubai.
Thanks, Eric.
Oh, before I go, I see the slide for David Kiley. Definitely want to say congratulations. One of the most influential people in wheelchair basketball in my life. Very fortunate enough to have seen him play in many, many championships in the 80s. Not to date myself, but also fortunate enough to be on the last team, on the last national team that Dave Kiley played on back in 2000 in Sydney, Australia, where we won a bronze medal with a buzzer beater by Paulie Schulte. So congratulations, DK, well deserved, and long time coming.
I think Ryan is getting to an area outside of a gym so he could present next on NWBA leadership changes. So we'll give him a moment. If not, then, but I'm pretty sure he's moving. Or Tina, you could go to the first slide and I can start while Ryan's, or is he gonna jump? So first there's some, Ryan, you got it?
Yeah,
Yep.
sorry about that. I tried to get out of the gym here to be a little bit more conscientious of all that's going on here. So as Darlene mentioned, we've got some leadership changes right now that we just want to go through and kind of make sure that everybody has an understanding of where we are. I would say, first of all, we'd like to thank Michelle Albin, who was an independent board member, and she has stepped down for professional reasons. And we want to thank her for her contribution in supporting us with that initiative. As well, thank you to Visional Committee leadership, Andy Helm, Josie Johnson, Jeremy Opilati, and Michelle Jenkins for their role in supporting their different divisional committees. And as well, we want to congratulate all re-elected divisional leadership and new committee leadership, Barnes Cartwright, Wayne Bozeman, Lauren Perry, Eric Harris, Dave Kiley, Cheryl Vines, Mark Lapicola, Pam Fontaine, Susie Grimes, Bob Seisman, Paul Jackson, Susan Hagel, Joe Manny, Greg McLennan, Doug Guerin, Mike Woodard, and Karen Casper Robeson. Just in the interest of making sure that you guys can contact us, under the NWBA leadership, and our contact information is on the website under the About tab and leadership teams. And you can get kind of direct contact with us if you have any questions and follow up. I want to take a minute to thank Will Waller for all he's done over the past few years in guiding the organization. Will is stepping down, and it's an amicable thing. He feels just personally and professionally he needs to go in a different direction, and was very instrumental in guiding us through kind of some rocky moments through the pandemic, and even previous as a board member. Before he took the CEO title. So we want to take a minute and thank Will Waller for what he's done for the game. Will is going to stay involved with the sport, obviously, much like most of us on this call is an NWBA lifer. He's going to stay on and not only himself become a Champion Circle member and give back financially to the organization, but continue to help the organization grow from a financial perspective. So we wish him the best in his new professional engagements, and wherever his talents take him, and we welcome his continued support as a key member of this organization.
And that brings us to the end of the town hall for what we have to share. We wanted to open up the floor for any questions that you have. I'm just going to reiterate what some people on the call said real quick with Mike and Eric is if you have any suggestions financially, revenue streams, or help us with partnerships, we're really open to that feedback moving forward. As you can see from COVID and now running two qualifiers and a world championship for 3 teams this year, it's really taken a toll on our finances, and any support or feedback or partnerships anybody has moving forward, we're really open to having those conversations. We are willing to sit down and talk to you all. And if you don't want to make the ask of somebody, but you have a recommendation, please let us know, and we would be willing to make that ask and work that forward. But we know that this is an organization that we all love and want to see grow. And so we're going to do this together and keep growing and being a better organization in the future. So does anybody have any questions? I know this is a small group, but this would be the time to ask them. So I don't, and Brandon and Tina, you haven't gotten any individually, right? Okay, just double checking. Okay, so with that, thank you for everybody who was on the call. Thanks to all of the speakers for making time for you to do your part and help us convey this message moving forward. And then our next town hall meeting is going to be Q3 on September 14th at 6:30 Mountain Time, 7:30 Central Time, 8:30 Eastern Time for all those who requested time zones at the beginning of the call. So we'll be better about that in the future and make sure that all time zones are listed so people have that clarification.
What time is that Pacific time?
5:30. Got you, Junior. I'm there. So thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Take care, guys.
Night, everyone.
And Tina,